What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. Welcome back to another match preview. Yes, the games continue to come thick and fast. And after Manchester United's 2-1 victory over Liverpool at Old Trafford on Monday, our attention now turns all the way to St. Mary's, an away trip to Southampton, the lunchtime kickoff on Saturday. And to preview the game, I'm joined today by Southampton fan Rob. How are you doing, mate?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much. How are you doing?
All good here. Much better after Monday, it must be said. Way better after Monday. Going into the game with a little bit of optimism. But let's get into the game, actually, because I think optimism might be a good place to start, or certainly your feelings about Southampton so far this season. We've got a victory, we've got a draw, and we've got a loss for Southampton in reverse order. How are you feeling about Southampton's season so far?
It's a difficult one. So obviously against Spurs, we get walloped 4-1 from home. It's never a good way to start the season. I'm sure everyone who follows the Premier League know we only got one win in our last 13 games at the end of last year. So to have to draw at Leeds, that was a real turnaround. So obviously we were 2-0 down until the 70th minute. We scored 2 goals, could have been 3 to bring that back. And what we see from the team now is that they're bringing the momentum from that Leeds game into the Leicester game. And obviously we won 3-0 at Cambridge last night as well, which we should do. But I think for me, that Leicester game was really important. We've come back from behind in 2 games now to get 4 points, which, if you know Southampton and Ralph Hasenhüttl, that's not very common at all. So it is nice to see that, and I think we're showing a little bit of guts, a little bit of fight as well. And I think we'll bring it to United on Saturday, but it always depends which Southampton turns up on the day.
Well, what Southampton shows up and what Manchester United shows up as well. I think inconsistency might paint both of the teams here. I mean, you spoke about that game, the game where you came back against Leicester last week and Che Adams in the last couple of minutes, and then a couple of extra goals against Cambridge as well. What's that, 4 in 2 in all comps? Would you say that he's the danger man that United need to look out for on Saturday?
Well, I think something really interesting you've got to watch out for with Che is I think he's changed his game slightly since last year. So he's a lot more physical now, backing into a defender. And I know Martinez played incredible against Liverpool. I know he was very good.
Yes, absolutely.
But Che's managed to pin back now Pascal Stroik and also Johnny Evans, who I think are a little bit more physically imposing than Martinez. Over the last few games, we've been playing off him a lot better. He's a very, very physical striker now. So I think Che is going to be the one to watch because he's obviously the man in form at the moment. He's the guy scoring our goals. 4 goals in 2 games, you can't really say that's not a bad record. So I think he's the man to watch, and I'll be interested to see him against Martinez to see, how Martinez kind of reacts to what he does.
Yeah, that is going to be an interesting one, actually, because, of course, everyone's been talking about Martinez recently, haven't they, when it comes to the height. He's too small to be a Premier League defender. We saw Jamie Carragher's analysis on it. One bad game, completely written off. One good game, and suddenly he's the best defender the world's ever seen at Manchester United. We'll have to wait and see, clearly. But do you see, then, that being the key battle, then, on Saturday between Martinez and Che Adams?
Well, I think United are obviously going to, I'd like to think, play Varane next to him, because that obviously works so well on Monday. So I think with Che, it's going to be an interesting one, because recently we've been playing 4-3-3, whereas we typically play 2 up top. So I think if United are smart, I'd say for you guys, you'd probably want to put Varane on Che rather than Martinez, to be honest.
Right.
If you're going to be wanting to win those one-on-one duels and whatnot. But yeah, I think whichever centre-back puts on him, he's going to be our outlet going forward on Saturday. I think, Bazunu, our keeper, has got really nice distribution. We've seen that. So he's going to be trying hitting him off the long ball. And if Che can hold it back and play it off to Armstrong or Mara or Prowse, whoever, I think we can really hit you on the transition. But if you can stop Che, then that kind of removes one of our only attacking outlets. And instead, we're going to have to try progress the ball through you, which against a 10-half press might be quite difficult.
I mean, also as well, Hasenhüttl, pressing side, high energy side. We saw Manchester United actually outrun Liverpool on Monday, which was staggering, considering the week before we got completely outrun by Brentford. It's going to be interesting for me if we see Manchester United attempt to play out from the back, because at Liverpool we just didn't do it. We just said, no, we're not going to do it. We can't do it. Long balls into channels, we'll go with that. If we try and play out from the back against Southampton on Saturday, could we be in trouble with how Southampton can press?
Well, since Ralph's come in, almost 5 years ago now. Blimey.
Yeah.
We have been one of the highest pressing teams in the league. Now, what we've seen is from when he originally started pressing with Southampton, obviously completely new system, new players, we've actually seen him fall off in terms of our pressing numbers over the last few years. So gradually, instead of being a manic press where we just be running after the ball, chasing, it's a lot more based on triggers. So I think if we were to set up in a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-2, like we typically do this season, we might even go 5 at the back, who knows. I do think that United would struggle to get through that. But I think with Casemiro playing, that does change the equation if it's not McFred. Yes. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I mean, as I said at the start, with Saints, you never really know. It always depends which one's going to turn up on the day. You know, we could beat Arsenal 1-0 and then go and lose 4-1 to Spurs or lose 3-0 to Brentford. So it's not 4 to Brentford, luckily, but you know, these are the kind of things that happen. So I think with us, we're going to be in your face. That's the minimum we expect against a top 6 side at home. So whether that's an issue for you, I think all comes down to Casemiro, really, if he can play that pivot role nicely.
I mean, irrespective, I mean, obviously United are buzzing. Well, buzzing maybe a strong word, but we're certainly happier after that victory over Liverpool on Monday. From a Southampton fan's perspective, though, do you still go into this game knowing United can be got at here?
Well, I put out a tweet after that game, basically saying that I'm more confident of getting something at United after you guys have won against Liverpool.
Right, interesting.
And I'm not sure why, but there was just a gut feeling I felt when I was watching the Liverpool game, and I thought, as we said before this recording, is were United good or were Liverpool bad? Was it a mixture? We're going to find that out on Saturday. So I think with you guys, you need to be careful that you don't want to be cocky, because beating your rivals, huge game, massive win for sure. But you don't want to go into it with disrespect for a club like Southampton, because when we're really going, we can get at teams really nicely. I am confident that I think we will get something from this game. That's going to come back to bite me. I know we're going to lose like 3-0. But I do feel slightly more confident that you've won, maybe a false sense of security now. Because from the passages of play I saw against Liverpool, it wasn't groundbreaking stuff. You hit them on the counter, you played the channels nicely and whatnot. And I think with Ralph seeing that and seeing what the game plan is against a pressing side like Liverpool who do play 4-3-3, then hopefully we're going to have some answers to the questions you're going to bring us.
Yes, certainly. Interesting stuff. Right, what we're going to go to next is quickly becoming a staple of the match preview. It's our quick fire round. We're going to fire in some quick fire questions and get your responses. So let's go straight to the quick fire round. Will Ralph Hasenhüttl be the Southampton manager at the end of the season?
Yes, because he's just been given £50 million on new players, investment from the board, investment from the new owners. I don't see him being sacked unless we go on a really bad run of results like we did the last 2 years. So I think last straw for Ralph, no excuses now, get the job done.
Is James Ward-Prowse good enough to play for Manchester United?
Yes, he is. In my opinion, 100%. He's unbelievable as a number 8. I think he gets in over Fred at the moment. I think he gets in over McTominay. Personally, I think he could play for any club in this league, especially Liverpool as well.
Interesting. Which one Manchester United player would you take at Southampton?
Ooh. Well, we need a new striker, so I guess I'll take Ronaldo off your hands. But speaking of that, I would really like James Garner. Really like him. Really interested in us taking James Garner from you this year.
Interesting. We'll talk about James Garner in a bit. And where will Southampton finish in the Premier League this season?
15th. I could throw a dart, blindfold me, I could throw a dartboard and it'll be anywhere between 17th and 13th. So I'll go down the middle, I'll go 15th.
Right, interesting responses there. Right, let's get into prediction territory here. Before I guess we do get into prediction time, you did bring up James Garner, and I did want to talk about that as well. Of course, links away from Manchester United this summer. Surprising as a United fan, certainly because I assumed that he might get a chance in the first team or he would go out on loan. So the idea of a permanent transfer is really surprising to me. You brought his name up, so would you take him at Southampton?
Oh, 100%. As someone, I got good friends and family who are Forest fans, so I watched a lot of Nottingham Forest over the last couple of years. Personally, I think James Garner's good enough to, I mean, prior to Casemiro, to kind of walk into that McTominay role. I think he's got a really good future, obviously, England under-21 international. Personally, for Southampton, I think you're undervaluing him massively at £14 million for an English player in this market. I think he's at least a £25-30 million player. I'd be over the moon if we managed to get in. There's rumours of Romeo going back to Spain. I think he'd be a great addition to the squad to play in that number 6, number 8 role alongside Prowser. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it is a surprising one. Again, I'm shocked because my assumption was that, okay, he might not play at United, but he'll go back on loan. But the permanent transfer thing really did surprise me. I mean, Casemiro softens the blow, but still, young player come through the academy. I think that's absolutely staggering. But going back to the game, let's say United win. I mean, irrespective of bad form, they still are going to be the favourites. We did go to St. Mary's last season. We were awful, by the way. So, yeah. I mean, anything could happen. I read a report, it was out a couple of weeks ago, about Ralph Hasenhüttl saying that he'd lost the dressing room or something like that. Yeah. Is there any accuracy in that? Or does the pressure increase if United win?
That report by the Daily Mail was interesting because it came from someone called Craig Hope, who is the Daily Mail's correspondent for the North East football clubs. So I'm not sure how he got information on
long distance.
But yeah, the back room of Southampton, as many fans have pointed out as well. The interesting thing is that report came out before the Leeds game, obviously after we just lost 4-1 at Tottenham. The last 20 minutes of that game was some of the best football I've seen Saints play in the last year, which is constantly attacking, really good. So we've come back from behind in the 2 of our last games to get 4 points, I said earlier. If players aren't playing for the manager, why do they care so much about getting back into the game? That's the questions I have. Yeah, there might be rumblings in the dressing room, Nathan Redmond not getting game time, Jack Stevens, whatever. But if the players aren't playing for the manager, then why are they putting in the performances that they are in order to claw themselves back, get a draw, get a win in games that we're conceding in? And from a player perspective, after watching these guys play recently, there's a lot of passion, there's a lot of love for the manager. When we beat Leicester, there's been rumours of Che Adams leaving, and Ralph went over to him, they're hugging and laughing, whatever, celebrating really. So personally, I wouldn't look too deep into those reports. It's an easy target to make when the club is struggling and a manager's been there a while, to blame the manager and kind of shift them on. I do think there might have been some truth in those reports in terms of players not maybe happy with game time, i.e. Brozier on loan last year, we knew he wasn't going to stay, and yet he started games even when we were stayed up. So you've got to think Adam Armstrong, Che Adams, why aren't they getting game time in that situation when we know that they're here this year and next? Yeah, I wouldn't read a whole lot into it. Whether he'll be under pressure, maybe, but again, top 6 side, these aren't the games that we have to win. These are the games we have to win, and where Ralph's essentially going to get judged is the teams between 20th and 10th. That's it. That's what his season's going to be judged on. So if we can get anything at the weekend, then obviously it's a result. But if not, then it's probably not the end of the world for him.
Yeah, I mean, also as well, I always think this when it comes to Southampton, because yes, they under Hasenhüttl, look, Matt, they've had these huge defeats, right? Of course, I don't have to tell you, but all these stretches of games where you go, where's the win come from? But I also look at it as he's still a really good coach. Like he did very well in the Bundesliga with Leipzig, and I do look at the other options that would be available to Southampton. I would say, well, who else would they get that's out there of his quality? And like I said, this isn't the Southampton of when Poch was there, Ronald Koeman was there, when they just had great players and then sold them on. It's to me, in my opinion anyway, it's sort of a lesser side with lesser players. So I think the job he's done under sort of difficult circumstances at times has actually been really good. And I don't expect them to get relegated or anything silly this season. Granted, there might be that stretch of games again.
There definitely will be.
But I think he's a solid coach. He was being linked to United at one point last season, right? The 2 Ralphs, Hasenhüttl and Ranić. That one didn't turn out to be accurate, nevertheless. But yeah, let's get into predictions then. What are you thinking in terms of a prediction? You fancying a win, or is it going to be a difficult one?
I'll be lying if, as I said earlier, if I don't think that we might get something. And I'll be hopeful. I'll go for a draw. I think it'll be an entertaining game. First on match of the day, I'll go for a 2-2.
First of all, my predictions are awful. Basically, if I try to predict a game, the opposite happens. I mean, I did a thing on the COP TV on a Liverpool channel. I said, I think we're going to lose 4 or 5-0. So if I say we'll lose, maybe the opposite will happen. I don't know. I don't want to be drawn too much into a false sense of security after Monday's result. You can look at it two ways. You can look at it as that can be the start of Manchester United season. It can galvanise the squad. It can really lift them around. I think it has, but these are the kind of games where we do slip up. Southampton away. Every time Man United come into town, it's a big event. St. Mary's will be rocking. The atmosphere will be strong there. I think the key thing is we can't start slow and we can't have Southampton score early. If you score instead they open in like 5 or 10 minutes, you could see another Brentford. We are that fragile. We can collapse so easily. That was my concern against Liverpool in the week. I thought if we concede early, who knows what can happen?
Yeah.
Thankfully, we get the first goal and we were up for it. We did outrun them. But Erik ten Hag was really, he stressed it a lot after the game. He said, it's one thing to do it against Liverpool at Old Trafford, Monday Night Football. The world is watching. You have to do it for every game.
Yeah.
And you have to do it because, again, for Southampton, it's one of their biggest games of the season. So they're going to be right up for it. And again, like you said, they outrun a lot of their opposition. So it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be fascinating to see what selection Ten Hag goes with. Does he go with the same back four? Does he stick with having Ronaldo on the bench and probably Anthony Martial start and Rashford out on the left? All of that is really interesting. As I mentioned, we went there last season. We were awful. I can't remember. When was the last time we won at St. Mary's in front of a crowd? Because I remember before COVID, I remember Dan James scored a good goal, and I think it was 1-1 then.
That was 1-1.
Yeah.
2021. I'm struggling to remember that game.
Yeah. But our record's not great.
No,
it's not great. So that'll be interesting. I'm going to go with a win. I think it'll be tough. I'm going to go with another 2-1. I think United get that opening goal. Southampton draw one back, and then I'm going to go with 2-1. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't totally. Because it is still Man United at the end of the day.
Very fragile side, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, there it go, guys. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Rob, where can they find you on social media?
Yeah, so my handle on Twitter is @SaintRob__. So come along, give me a follow if you actually care about Southampton and you're watching this. So, that'd be great.
In general, not just Southampton.
Come and follow. We host Twitter Spaces about Premier League and the Saints and whatnot. So, come along if you're interested. But no, thank you very much for having me on.
No, thank you. Thank you for joining me. And yes, Rob's links are all in the video description as well, so you can find him there as well. We're out of here. Have a good one, and we'll speak to you again very soon. Peace.